Hello and welcome to the show. I'm here on GTA 5 for some more downhill chaos today, starting with some mods. I'm going to be doing it with the extreme damage. We've got a cheetah with a strange double wing. I'm not quite sure why a wing gets put on top of the other one, but never mind. Yeah, I thought I'd give sort of three different kind of vehicles, and we started off with the supercar. Now, the damage, I wasn't expected to really make a huge amount of difference. You see, while yes, the cheetah is not designed for going off-road, and yes, it is sort of a very bumpy, rough track that it goes down, unless sort of, as you saw there, when the car sort of tips on its side and you crash sort of like that, I'm not expecting this to make any difference whatsoever to the cars. We're not going to break sort of suspension and wheels just from driving down the course. If it lands the jump flat, sort of, you know, like you want to be doing, really, it's not going to damage the car in any way, so it shouldn't make any particular difference to the speed, sort of like the run speed itself. However, it does mean when you fall off the course, you get some very interesting shaped vehicles. So we see it that the front of this cheetah now is yeah, a rather peculiar shape. I tried to do the whole mountain climbing thing that we did with the T20. I think we may have got off a bit of a steeper area, and this certainly isn't as good at climbing up sheer cliff faces as the the T20 is. Yeah, it got a little bit stuck down there. The cheetah, I like the cheetah. It's one of my favourites of the supercars, and it was actually really rather easy to drive. I carried a lot of speed into this final section, just a little bit too much, really, for that particular one, as we roll and twist and end up smacking into a tree. I was really amazed that the car didn't explode more when tumbling off the mountain with this damage. I was expecting to have a lot more explosions, but no. I mean, the back of the car is a peculiar shape. The front is all completely squished up. The wheels, yeah, not at a happy angle, certainly, at the back of the car. I mean, yeah, it's a supercar. It's quick to drive. The main thing that I did was carry a bit too much speed into places I shouldn't. At that time there, I just got too airborne over the jump, and then I couldn't sort of gather it all back under control again to try and slow it down in a place like that where it's such a short braking zone, and of course very steep downhill. Once it's on its nose, I'm not going to be able to stop the cheetah. There wasn't really any major problems with the car. I could actually carry a lot of speed over the jump there. I could get lots of speed on the landing. It was going down this little side road bit that would cause more issues, trying to carry speed down a very narrow, very bumpy route. And the cheetah, well, as you can see, is no longer quite cheetah shaped anymore. It's got I love the sort of extreme damage. It does do some crazy things to the cars when you go for a tumble. Like the whole front, the rear end got one wheel with a lot of camber on it there, and the front end sort of all curved around. Yeah, not ideal for tumbling off mountains. In all honesty, it didn't take particularly long to get a clean run out of this vehicle, as you would expect. The cheetah is a really rather fast car. As I said, I wasn't expecting any differences as such with the whole driving, and it didn't really make any differences. I mean, sure, you had to be careful of crashing, but let's face it, if you're going off the mountain, it doesn't matter if the car's going to deform massively or have no damage whatsoever. If you fall off the mountain, the run's over effectively. The hairpin's always a problem with supercars, I tend to find, getting it certainly around that really tight corner. These things tend to have quite a lot of grip, tend to be very large and so on, and it was close to the edge, certainly, around that particular corner. Again, trying to carry speed, that bump halfway through the corner is a little bit of a pain. One concern I did have was if wildlife got in the way, that it may damage the car. Fortunately, with the animals that I saw around here, that wasn't the case, so if one of them did run across in front of you while you're on a run, it wouldn't completely ruin your cars, but the hikers were much more of a concern. You can see we can carry a lot of speed over the jumps. I was impressed with the amount of speed you could carry with the cheetah, and it wasn't sort of bouncing up in the air and losing control like we have seen with quite a lot of the vehicle. This could carry serious speed over there. Around the final turn, though, I pushed a little bit too hard, and it was across the line sideways. Unfortunately, being a jump, things didn't end quite so well for the poor car. We made it across the line safely without any damage. It was crossing the line bit that caused the issue with this car. Yeah, it's quite wrecked. It was quite quite a poorly car, this one, after the finish line. I tried to take the final corner flat out, and you could do it, but you can see the bump over there where there's kind of like a crossroads of the dirt, and it just was enough to flick the car sideways, and crossing the finished jump sideways is not a good thing for the cheater. And as you can see, it's, yeah, but amazingly all the wheels are kind of okay. I think one of the back wheels may have some camber on it, but the rest of them were surprisingly alright. Up next, it is the turn of the dumpster. Now, I drove the 6x6 one down here at some point. These are pretty good off-road vehicles, as the blooming hikers I was just walking in front of the camera as they do. I do quite like the dumpster. I like all of the sort of the off-roady parts that you can put on the car. Unfortunately, you can't make a flamethrower out of it. I tried. It wouldn't let me. This thing, well, you know, we've had a supercar go down, so may as well go for sort of an off-road SUV and see how it fares. Of course, you would expect this to survive the bumps and the jumps of the course far better than the cheater. It's, you know, it's designed to be going off-road, and certainly on the first run, on all of the runs, it was very, very capable of driving down here. I very nearly made it all the way on the first attempt. May have pushed it too hard, got sideways at the wrong moment, and that was all it took to get the dumpster twisting. And once you start twisting at them sort of speeds, you're not going to recover it. And as the car rolls down the hill, it is, yeah, peculiar. I love the way it's deformed the spare tyre on the back, or sort of the whole back end of the car. Yeah, that may have completely ruined it. The light bar and so on that was on the roof is now, well, around Michael's head. It's not really, it's quite a dangerous thing, having the, sort of the, I don't quite know, the thing at the top, the bars, yeah, it's not a good thing to be having doing that. Again, just running a little bit wide. And once it started running wide there, you can't stop it. We get kind of like a really unfortunate sort of bounce, and then it sort of, I don't know how, it just suddenly picks up speed and flings itself out to the other side of that hill. And because you're on the ground for such a short amount of time, me being on the brakes made bugger all difference to it. Now, one thing that I did notice that the extreme damage does is it makes the cars roll almost peculiarly, because it kind of squashes bits together that I don't normally do that. I mean, if you look at the front wheels, it kind of keeps the roll going on, much like we've seen with cars on Horizon 2 in the FailRace videos. It just keeps on tumbling. It no matter what I do, it's not going to stop this car from rolling. I mean, look at the angle of the front wheels as it comes tumbling down here, eventually coming to rest at the bottom of the cliff, and there's a police chase going on past. Yeah, certainly with this car, once it starts tumbling, you can see the mess that it's made. It really does not want to stop. Yeah, it's a very peculiar vehicle now. Looks very little like it did to start with the amount that the front end got sort of bent up. There were the occasional fail that wasn't particularly spectacular. I just got things a little bit wrong over one of the jumps, got it sideways, and yeah, around here you get it sideways on the narrow roads, and well, that's pretty much you have had it. Again, we bounced off the ground and picking up speed at inopportune moments, and it's sort of flipping and twisting. Managed to get it under control before it went for a proper flip. Didn't quite roll this time, but yeah, amazingly, it actually came out relatively well from going at quite high speeds. Straight into some rocks. Again, another one just ran a little bit wide. Ran wide there many a time, but of course, with the damage and so on, it's yeah, a little bit more spectacular certainly as it goes tumbling off down the mountain. This time though, it managed to break the car in a peculiar way. I've never seen it shatter the fuel tank. The car promptly starts leaking fuel, and me trying to, I was curious if it could climb back up the mountain. I got it wedged and then noticed there was some fire. I had the sort of the race exhaust because I was hoping to make a flamethrower from the back of this, sort of at the start like I was with the cheater, but no, instead I managed to set fire to my dubster. Yeah, I didn't realise that I thought that only bullets could shatter the fuel tanks, but no, apparently if you hit them in the right way, that can cause problems. It is the first time, I think, in Downhill Chaos series that I've ever had a car explode and Michael survive it. Like, I've had time to get out of the car before it exploded. I think I burnt a couple of cars. I might have burnt the Futo and the Prius that were terrible down here. But, yeah, this is the first one that's had a ruptured fuel tank because of the extreme damage. Anyway, on to the completed run. As I said, it was really relatively easy to drive down here. The few fallings off of the mountains were me just trying to really push this as hard as I could. I mean, it's not got the speed of a supercar, let's face it. And this, you know, okay, the supercar shouldn't really survive going down here as we get a long way on two wheels. But you know, it's never going to quite compete with the supercars down here, but it was pretty quick. It has really good acceleration, this thing, and then not much top speed. That's kind of what I've sort of found with it. It does handle very, very well. One of my concerns, of course, with the SUVs is that they're going to go up on two wheels and like to roll over because of their higher centre of mass. And that wasn't a problem with the Dubster. It's not sort of high enough riding, if you like, to have that issue. The Messer, certainly the Merryweather Messer, is absolutely terrible for trying to fall over the second you go around a corner. But this thing is absolutely okay. Again, we could carry half decent speed around the jumps. It didn't bounce up into the air too much. Even on this run, I got things quite scary. That's not a normal way of being able to save cars. We've seen many problems when I end up doing that, but the Dubster could deal with it. Oh, I was thoroughly impressed with this car as we come up across the finish line. And yeah, I thought I was okay keeping it under control. I managed to then promptly slide off and parked in front of a cyclist. Yeah, probably scared the crap out of him. Yeah, the Dubster, as you would expect, dealt with the course very well. I really quite liked this car. Certainly some amusing damage going on for it. And yeah, I can't say I've managed to rupture a fuel tank before that wasn't involving shooting at it or so on. So yeah, that was a first. And for our final vehicle, I went for the Izzy because I figured, well, the tiny little Mini would probably be quite amusing if it starts taking some of the damage. I was kind of now curious to see what shape these cars would end up when I inevitably got something wrong and fell off the side of the mountain. The Mini is actually quite quick. It is also the world's most oversteery front-wheel drive car. It's a surprisingly fun vehicle to drive, I have to say. It caught me out at the start. There is a lot of sort of turning in this car, a lot of front-end grip, and a complete and utter lack of rear-end grip. So it does tend to be quite an interesting car to drive, and I thought it may struggle a little bit down this course. Like the Futo struggled with this huge oversteer when I did it on. I think I did that one on 360. The Futo. I was thinking that we could have perhaps issues with the Mini. You can see the damage on the front of it from that relatively slow speed bump on the rock. Ran a little bit wide, didn't quite have the grip that I thought I did, and now we're in a little bit of trouble. Trying to spin the car back around, I can't get it really that much under control, and now we've started rolling. Get away with only one roll. Do manage to get under. When it starts spinning around in a circle that quickly, there's very little I can do about it. Because if I go on the brakes to try and slow it down, well, if the car ends up pointing backwards, it goes in reverse. So yeah, there's nothing you can do. The front of the car is, yeah, a peculiar shape, but it was only sort of one half roll off of a rock. This is what I found amusing. I love the way the hiker kind of tries to jump over the car. Doesn't think about getting out of the way, he just jumps up in the air. Now, the hikers were actually a concern to me for causing damage to the front of these vehicles. I normally tend to avoid them because they will slow you down. We get a very, very big slide. They will slow you down. They can cause damage to the car normally. This run here, I got caught on the bump and went out wide. Had a look at the front of the car, and yeah, you don't want to be hitting them with this damage, which is why you will see, if I can, I will try and avoid them, because look at the damage is done. From that one hit. Admittedly, that is the fastest part on the course, but that being a little bit more to the side could easily have bent up a wheel. So yeah, you really don't want to be messing with them. I was often finding I was carrying a little bit too much speed into a corner, thinking I could get away with a bit more in this car than I actually could. This time we're going for a very, very big roll and tumble down the mountain. As I said, I'm amazed that the car did not explode at any of these points. I was really thinking it was going to on this one. We went very quickly backwards into a tree, and well, now it's kind of a short. It's much closer to an actual Mini. If you look how much the back end has been squashed up. I tried operating the roof. The roof doesn't work anymore. I love that the roof is still sort of the box where the roof should be is still there. Yeah, there is some incredible damage on the Mini. Getting things a little bit wrong on the way sort of towards the jump. The car was bouncing around, and now it's twisting again, and we're plummeting off at very, very high speeds. Yeah, that's a big place to have an accident down there. We've seen various cars go off at that point, and then we have a look at the damage done to the thing. Again, scare some more cyclists. The front of the car kind of all sort of pushed to one side. I love how the door is now just chasing after the cyclist. Again, towards the end of the run, the bushes were a pain for the Mini. I thought I might be able to get away with this car being a bit bigger and a bit heavier than the likes of some of the vehicles that have had issues through there. But no. You know, the Space Docker had issues because it was so wide. I thought with this carrying speed we could just sort of plough through the bushes and it would be fine. No. Nope, it was enough to put the Mini out of control, and I couldn't save it in the end. It took a little while. Of all the cars, this one here was probably the hardest to get down the mountain. It's a bit sort of twitchy and oversteery, really, for my liking, and can get a little bit carried away through some of the corners. I mean, it's still not too bad of a vehicle. I mean, again, this is a compact class of car. It's never likely to quite have the speeds of the supercars, or the acceleration and the top speed of the supercars, but it still does relatively well. It is very good fun to drive on tarmac. Out here, I think it's just not quite got the rear end grip. I was having to be really careful into the previous corner there. It really didn't like getting turned down in that downhill section. So I would normally kind of just chuck the car through there, and it works for most of them, as you saw with the Dubster and the Cheetah. With this, you have to be a lot careful. If you try that, it's very, very easy to get it wrong. Get a little bit unlucky across the bumps, and a blooming coyote runs underneath the car. That doesn't really help matters. We do run a tad wide, but we get away with it. As across the first big jump, always worried about the front of the car getting caught on the landing there, but you have just enough time to get everything all sorted out so we don't take any damage. Again, going a little bit front first, just enough though to keep it under control. Now the Mini is relatively narrow, so you do have to slow it down, and you can see the car sliding through that section, but yeah, we can get away with it in the end. Another big slide. It is just the most oversteery front-wheel drive car you will ever see, and I tried to carry the speed, did run wide through the final turn, got some big airtime, couldn't stop it, and the Mini ends up upside down in the in the ditch, and we've lost the bonnet, and the front end is now, we kind of made a pointy Mini. The rear boot is a peculiar shape as well. Going on the very peculiar shape. Yeah, to be fair, this is, so look at the camber. The camber we have on the rear wheel. It's in better shape than some of the crashes I had with the Mini, but it's not it didn't drive particularly well either. With that amount of camber going on at the rear wheel, yeah, the grip is not particularly fantastic. He also wasn't a huge fan of climbing up this hill, and then of course you got to stop for the rabbits. Yeah, it was quite broken after that crash. Again, it was a similar thing that I did with the Cheetah. I tried to be flat out through the final corner, and you can be with this. It just runs a bit wide, and hitting the bumps at speed, dealing with a sort of a jump as well, is never quite likely to end too well for the Mini, but it did make it down the course. Okay, so that's kind of the important thing, even if it is now a rather peculiar shape. I think I'll go with peculiar as the objective. On to the times. Now, next to the cars that I've used mods for, I will put a little asterisk. The Cheetah, a 122.2, goes almost 2 seconds quicker than the Osiris. Okay, it's not quite as quick as the T20. That thing is a monster. It does get beaten by the Brawler and the Insurgent, but they're both, well, the Brawler's an off-road racing car. The Insurgent just doesn't care about bumps, so that's a pretty good time. That's a pretty good time from the Cheetah, certainly. The Dubster is down in 11th, 127.2, but it's almost identical to the Black Flynn. Yeah, again, another good time. I did like the Dubster. It was a good car to drive down here. And the Izzy is further down, at 129.9. Very crowded area of the table already, down there in 16th. Fractionally behind the Chino, just beats the Virgo. Mini is a little oversteery and twitchy, really, for this kind of a course. A lovely fun car to drive on tarmac, but on the mountain roads down Chiliad, yeah, not really quite to my liking. But there we go. The extreme damage mod made for some interesting crashes when things went wrong. Honestly, things didn't go wrong anymore because of the damage mod. The car survives landing the jumps and so on perfectly well. But yeah, when things do go wrong, when things tumble off the mountain, it is some interesting messes that we end up with. If you want to have a go with the mod, I'll put the link in the description so you can download it and try it yourself. But that is it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.